guys, have you ever felt like you're wandering aimlessly through life, like some character in a video game? Trust me, I know the feeling. Listen, it's time to hit pause and tune into Beverly Explains It All. Join me as we have candid conversations with guests and friends and talk about everything under the sun. Let's figure out what really makes you tick. If you're curious about life and learning how to enjoy the present, let's go down this road of self-discovery so together we can purposely find your purpose. Allow me to ask the questions you're thinking, introduce you to new ideas, and help you live your best life. Come with me on this journey as Beverly Explains It All. Hey guys, welcome to Beverly Explains It All. I'm very excited. I have one of my very, very, very good friends, Sandra Gomes Rocha, joining me. Hello, Sandy.
Hello.
I mean, me and Sandy go back. We go way back.
We're not going to do that math. We are not doing that math.
Thank you. I refuse.
No.
Like, we met in college, though. I will say my freshman year of college, I was a very young, nervous 18-year-old, and Sandy was an exchange student from New Jersey. We both went to CSUN, and they were so much fun, so many adventures, so many learning experiences. I mean, Sandy was a bridesmaid in my wedding, and I mean, Sandy's the bomb, y'all. So we are going to get to the nitty-gritty, and I'm going to let you see why she is so amazing and awesome.
Wait.
You know you are, girl. So I like to do a thing on my show where I ask 10 questions. They're just random yes/no questions. It's no pressure. It's just to shake off our nerves and to roll into the interview. You done? You're down?
Yes. Let's do it.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Easy. First, do you prefer cats or dogs?
Dogs.
I mean, obviously, she has a very adorable poodle named April. So I'm not surprised with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I love all animals, but I'm also allergic to dander. So there are certain animals that I need to just not be in the same room with it. So I got
totally
myself a hypoallergenic dog. So yes.
Smart girl, can't be itching and scratching. Okay, have you ever read a book in one day?
If it was like 50 pages, but no, when I was younger, I remember being in school, we were getting these book reports and we were given a whole month to read. I was like, oh my God, a month is not enough time. But now It's just like, if I get into a really good book, I can get into like maybe 3 to 5 days. But on a single day, I have to have absolutely nothing else going on and be on the beach somewhere, and that's all I'm doing. So, yeah.
Even doing that, I feel like the older I get, I have like no attention span, and literally I'll like take a book and I'll just like speed read. And maybe it's because I worked as like a writer's assistant, but I'm like, I got it. She's pregnant. Cool. Next page. And I'm like, wait, what?
No, we've gotten to the point where we read a book. We like it enough that we get into in the audiobook version so that when we're in the car, we can listen to it there. And then we have the book to go back and to highlight all the things. So anyway, as we've gotten older, we've gotten more scholarly, where we're actually getting back into books and doing all the things. But it's a world of multitasking. You have to figure out all the little things that you can do, 50 of which at the same time. So
100%. I'm all about that, getting my workout on and listening to a book.
Amen to that.
Okay. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Oh,
I do. I believe there's this book that I read a long time ago called, well, I forget the name of the book, but the author was Sandra Brown.
Okay, Sandra Brown. There's a book.
Sandra Brown. So remember the Montel Williams show? I mean, we're really showing.
Yes. Are you talking about? Is it Sylvia Brown?
Sylvia Brown. Sylvia Brown. So she's the psychic or whatever.
Yes.
And essentially this book, she's talking about like souls and how we come through earth as many times as we need to as souls to learn the lessons that we need to learn and then take to God. So I think that we are living in a world where, we certainly do have our spirits, and our spirits transcend us. They were before our physical shelves, and they will be here somewhere afterwards. And I do believe that, some energies, they tend to stick around. And look, one of the shows, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but one of the shows that I do watch is like ghost related shows. Like they go on like ghost hunting and exorcism. So yes.
This was the perfect question for you. Oh my gosh. Like I feel like I've on. Okay. I'm like, we're going to have a whole another episode because I have so many thoughts with it. And yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
You can go down a really severe like rabbit hole with this, but that's not what
Yes.
this conversation is about. So we'll leave that
Thank
for
you. Okay. I'm
next
like, let
time.
me go back
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, we got to talk about Tyler Henry, and I'm like, we'll talk about that on our time, girl. We'll talk
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Have you ever tried skydiving?
I did. I actually did it once. I did it around my 30th birthday. And let
Remember
me
that?
tell you, oh yeah, I went to Vegas. I went to
Oh my God.
Vegas, and it was the second time in my life that I had a come to Jesus moment. Like, if you want to
Girl.
know how insignificant you are in this world, just jump off a plane,
No,
because you're
ma'am.
like, oh, I am a speck of dust in this earth,
Yes.
and
Gone.
I could just like splatter on this floor, and the world is going to go on without me. Doesn't
Girl.
matter. But I mean, it was really exhilarating, because it's like, well, first of all, the whole ascending on the plane is like, you have, and obviously it was tandem, right? So you have the
Yes.
instructor, like, he's strapped to your back, and
Oh my,
he's
I
like, all right,
can't.
in 5 minutes, we're going to inch towards the door, and then you're going to brace yourself, cross your arms, lean back, and jump out. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. It was like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 90 seconds, and 30 seconds, just like, wait, I am not ready. And then you are out.
And they
They
like
push
push you,
you out.
don't they?
Oh, they do. They are not
Uh,
waiting. They are not. And
honey.
in fact, there is a DVD that I got from that
Oh,
I
you
have
know I
not
want to see
watched,
this. I want
and
to see this.
I have to find it. I don't know where it is. I don't. We even have like DVD players anymore. But
I
anyway,
know. We'll have to figure
um,
that. We'll have to figure that situation out first.
yeah, the new technology. But as soon as you jump, you are free falling, right? You're
I
like,
can't.
oh goodness, and you feel nothing around you, right? You're in
Mm-mm,
nothingness. But
mm-mm.
once that parachute opens up, you're just in a state of calm, and you're just gliding, and you just get to see the horizon, and you're just like, it feels like you're at the top of a mountain, and you're just looking out of like God's world, but you
Lord,
absolutely
girl.
understand that you are absolutely insignificant in this earth. And once you touch ground, you're like, okay, I need to be a better human, because
Yeah, okay, because I survived this, so I need to be a good person now. I
really,
forgot that you were actually adventurous, and I am totally not. Like, I don't know. I'm not
right.
gonna say that skydiving is out of the question for me ever, but it will definitely not be anytime soon because I don't need that come to Jesus moment. Me and Jesus are good.
You're like, I'm good. Like, I know who he is. Like, I don't
Yes.
need explaining. I don't
Mm-mm.
need,
I
to
don't need to
get that
black out
vibe.
and see you. I got you, God. You got me. Thank you, Lord.
You know,
We're gonna talk more about that because,
yes,
girl.
there's a lot. I will take you. You will go with me.
All right,
It'll be
people.
fun. It'll be awesome.
We'll have to get back to you on that one because the jury's out. We'll see what happens with
Stay
me.
tuned. Stay
Stay
tuned for that
tuned.
jump off.
Okay. Do you sing in the shower?
I used to. Now I just think and worry in the shower. I'm no longer
Oh
like, la di da. I'm
no.
just like, oh my God, I just
Uh-oh.
need to do like all these things. It's just like, I got to get out of here. So I used
Girl.
to, but from time
And
to
this
time,
that's gonna
maybe.
totally segue. People are gonna understand why you're thinking and worrying because I mean you got a billion things to do, and we're gonna get to that. Have you ever won a contest?
I did. I won in college. I won the sexiest STC, which is student technology consultant at the time. And I was dating a guy at the time who was also in the department, and his name was Danny. So we were Sandy and Danny, as in Greece. So anyway, so we won some stupid, I don't know, whatever was stupid. But yeah, I mean, like, look,
There's a contest winner over here, y'all.
and I mean, the contest that I wish to win is the lottery. That is something that I
Hello.
wish to win, but no.
We'd all know. We'd all know. Okay. Do you like to cook? I know the answer
I
to this question.
do. I really do. Cooking is one of my love languages, baking as well. And, like every year, for the most part, every year I try to have like a friend's holiday dinner. And I was really trying to have it this year, but with all the things, it might have to be a January thing. So
Whenever
keep
it
all the
is,
things.
I'm here for it. I will say
I
and
know.
attest that Sandy is like the best cook. Your food is
Oh,
freaking delicious. I couldn't believe like what last year you made a creme brulee. I'm like, what?
yeah.
How?
And of course,
Yeah,
I was just like, oh my God, it didn't come out right. It was just, anyway. So I like
it
to put
was
myself in situations
delicious.
that are just, I'm doing way too much.
Way
So,
too much, but you're doing
yeah.
it.
Yes,
This is
yes,
going to
yes. But
be
I do.
very random here, but do you play chess? I don't remember.
When we were roommates, I did have a glass chess set, and
Oh
chess is
yeah.
something that I always wanted to really learn how to play. And I think that I learned it for like 5 minutes, but it's absolutely the kind of thing that I would like get deep into. It's just, life, and I don't even have
There's
time
too
to
much going on.
watch a TV show, let alone play chess. But yeah, it's
I'm
something
with
that I
you.
definitely
Like,
would love to pick up. Yeah.
yeah, like I tried to learn. Andre, my husband, tried to teach me several times. And I'm like, can we just play checkers? Like, this is just too damn much. Like, so, if I learn, we'll learn together. How about that?
Okay, noted. Okay, so we'll jump off a
Noted.
plane. We'll learn how to play chess. We'll do all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all the things, y'all.
all the
This is a
things.
good one, and I know the answer to this, but many probably do not. Have you ever met a celebrity?
Oh, I've met so many. Um,
Ah! Top two
so
or top three?
in terms of like wow factor, in terms of how great they
Yes.
are, in terms of how talented,
Any
all the
judgment
things.
that you feel like is important for your top three?
Okay, so I would tell you now when I say met, it's not like oh my God, hi,
Yeah.
my name is Sandra and da da
Oh
da,
yeah,
and
that's a
that's just
whole
like
nother. I mean, you know what we mean. Like, have you
maybe we
seen where
were
it's like I got a
waiting.
moment?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, no.
He's at the grocery store. Brad Pitt's here, you guys.
Well, I would
Holy
tell you
shit, there's
two.
Brad Pitt.
One that is absolutely a celebrity, and the other one that most people would not consider a celebrity, but I do. The first is Angelina Jolie. We were
Oh,
working
I
on
die.
Maleficent. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So she had a meeting in our building. For those of you who don't know, I work for Disney marketing, and we were working on Maleficent, and I think it was the first or the second one. I forget what it was. So she was coming in, and her energy, it really was like looking at the sun. It's like
Oh
you
my
wanted
God.
to just look at her, but at
Yes.
the same time, it's like you couldn't because you were going to be blinded off. So
Right.
certain celebrities have that kind of like vibe. Like, and I feel
Yeah.
like for people who are really who are really like successful in this business, who are A stars, you have that it factor, that charisma. Another one was Robert Downey Jr. He was just
Ah,
super eccentric, super eccentric. He came in
Iron
with a really like
Man.
funky, yes, yes, yes. So
Love
those
it.
two were like really high energy celebrities. But the one that I
Yes.
said that to me is, but maybe to others wouldn't be, is Bob Iger, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. A lot of
Oh
people know who he
yes.
is.
Yeah.
Everyone that works at the company wishes to have their Bob elevator moment, right? It's just like when you are in
Yes.
the elevator with this man, and let me
There's
tell you, a lot of
greatness.
people, there's greatness, but also it's like he actually would turn to you. He's like, "Hi, I'm Bob." Of course, we know who he is, but he
Yeah.
wants to know who you are. It's just like, oh, like, where are you at? Da-da-da-da.
That's
And
dope.
there's just such an energy about him. And he, unlike a lot of other executives in the industry, he doesn't talk to you depending on who you're standing next to, because I work for a lot of
That's
people like that.
yes.
Yeah.
That's so important. And like that makes you remember them as well. It's like it kind of goes both
Hmm.
ways because even with celebrities, it's like we put them on such a pedestal. But I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, you're still a human. Like you still fart. Like I know, like, come on, give me a break.
They do. But let me tell you, if there's one thing that I learned in this industry is that, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but to me, the level of talent and brilliance also correlates with the level of crazy. Like some of
Yes.
the most talented people in this industry are batshit. And like on a
Oh
regular
yeah.
day, not in front of cameras, you're like, what is
Like
happening?
like people have no idea she is wiling out right now. But okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do have to have a certain personality and a certain energy level to be at that level in this industry. And I think that that's what a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand. It's just like, yes, if you are an introvert and you're kind and you're beautiful and you're just like very much about like, oh, here might be eaten alive in this
Very
town.
true.
Um,
Some of
but
us had to
so
learn that
anyway,
the hard way. Yeah, I'm with
mm,
you. Okay, this
mm,
is the last question, and then we're gonna
okay,
roll. And I feel like I should have actually introduced you before even going to the questions because people were like, "How is she? How does she know celebrities? How does she
yeah.
know seen Bob Iger? Like, what's happening?" But okay, my question is, and I know the answer, but this is great. Do you speak more than one language?
I speak three. I speak English is probably my best one, but it's the last language that I learned. I
Wild.
speak Spanish and Portuguese. I was born in a Spanish speaking country two Portuguese parents. I'm pretty sure that my first language, I was speaking Portuguese because that's just what my parents speak in the household. But because you grow up in a Spanish-speaking community and country, you go to school, your neighbors, like Spanish is the thing that I spoke. And it's really interesting in my family, it's both me and my brother. We can be at home with my parents, and there could be another couple, let's say my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, whatever. My brother and I speak to my parents in Spanish. We can turn to the person next to them who is like a pure Portuguese. We'll speak to them in Portuguese. But for whatever reason, I just cannot speak to my parents in Portuguese. It feels weird. But if I can't find the word that I'm looking for, I will say it in one of the other languages that I know. It's just like I'll be telling my mom, she's like, that thing, like in English, it's called X. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So there are a lot of voices in my head, and they're all different languages. Yeah.
I mean, that is just true talent. I took high school French, a little in college. I have it when I need it. I went to France. I was like, I ain't saying nothing. So I'm just like so impressed with you because you could just slide into both. So, I mean, and you have to say, so you're Portuguese, but you were born in Venezuela.
In Venezuela. Yes. So back in the late 70s, we're not going to get too much into history here, but there was a point in the Portuguese history where in April of 1975, there was a revolution. It's what they call the Coronation Revolution, the bloodless revolution. So not a single drop of blood was shed during this war. Essentially, all the colonies that belonged to Portugal became free. And at the time, Portugal was also part of a dictatorship. So with this revolution, the country essentially ended that part of their governmental role. But also Portugal, as a result, it's a very poor country, or it used to be. It's actually known as one of the poorest countries in Western Europe. So in the late 70s, there was a mass exodus. And one of the countries that people will go to was Venezuela. Another country was the United States. You had France, you had Australia, you had a whole lot of places. So I literally have family all over the world. But we ended up going to Portugal. I actually was born there. My brother was born in Portugal. I was born in Venezuela. I was there until I was just before I turned 10 years old. And then we moved to Jersey so anyway, so people are like, where are you from? I'm like, everywhere.
Everywhere. You're a Jersey girl at heart, I think.
Girl, that accent comes out. Like,
okay.
Yes, it's in me.
Yes.
I'm definitely an East Coast girl,
Yes.
The two of us, so.
Tell them. That's what I'm saying. Maryland in the house. All right.
You lost your winter edge though, because you
it's cold out here. When it hits 70, I'm like, woo, there's a breeze.
Reader, it's 75 and she's wearing a scarf. Yes.
Anyway, I'm all about it. It's also the fashion. I'm like, I never get to wear it, but that's a whole other story. So I think the listeners are getting to know a little bit about you because of these questions, but I'd love it if you could just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, because you're so many layers here. There's so many good layers. So please tell us everything.
Well, I'll tell you a few things, because for everything I'll need to write like an encyclopedia, but
like part 2 of
part 13. So let me see. My parents are twice immigrants. They immigrated to Venezuela. Then we all immigrated here. I grew up in Jersey. I grew up in a very traditional Portuguese household, which is very conservative, right? But I grew up surrounded by the Latin American community, the Puerto Ricanos, Boricuas, Cubans, and of course the Portuguese community. So I feel like a big part of me is Latina, and I definitely empathize with a lot of the Latino culture and community. My husband is Mexican Salvadorian, born here in LA. So we're definitely like a melting pot. I, at one point, wanted to get into film, but I'll tell you how that came to be later on today, or later on in this podcast. And I moved out to California because I had the opportunity to go on an exchange program. Now, at the time, I could either go to France or I can go to Hawaii. I could literally go to any other place, but I wanted to work in film, so I ended up in California.
I'm like, womp, womp.
I know. It was like,
I'd have been all bonjour.
Yeah. I know. And I have family out there, but I was just like,
but you got to meet me. So Cali was the place to be.
And my life has been better for it. So amen to that. Yes. So I've been working in Hollywood for way too long. And back in 2018, I started a wine business. So I am doing a full-time job with the Walt Disney Company. And then I also have the side hustle, which is not really a side hustle because to me, it's just another whole full-time job.
Yes.
And there's just a lot of things I'm doing at the same time. But, it's the thing. The wine business is a thing that I finally realized after 15 years of being out here that was where I needed to be and not Hollywood, right? So I feel like later in life or halfway through in my 30s, I decided, well, this Hollywood business is not for me. I need to go somewhere else and be more authentic. So
I mean, a major career shift going from a marketing assistant, right? For
yeah.
Disney, which is a
Mhm.
high, powerful company everybody knows about.
Yeah.
And you were there 4 years. How many years?
So I'm still there in that particular
Yeah.
department. I've been there for 13 and a half years. I've been with the company overall for like 16, 17 years, whatever the math is between 2007 and now. That's how long I've been there.
Absolutely incredible. And now next year, Sandy is going to leave and fulfill her dream, basically, of being an entrepreneur and having her own importing business. And can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit of what you're importing? And
So being fully Portuguese, of course, I'm importing wines from Portugal. And Portugal is a place that a lot of people are discovering, which is really awesome and interesting and fabulous, but it's always, of course, a double-edged sword. And I grew up with the stuff, right? To us, wine was a cousin that was at the table all day, every day. Like we didn't need a special occasion, we didn't need a birthday, we didn't need a party. It was always there. And to us, wine was just like water. Like there wasn't this like mysterious, like sophisticated, no, it was just wine, right? So I
it was a part
wanted
of the
to
culture.
it was absolutely part of the culture. Like if you go to Italy, Spain, France, like you have wine with everything, right? Like it's just part of your life. It's part of the cuisine. It is absolutely a lifestyle. So, when you look at the American consumer, it almost feels like they need justification to
Mm.
have a glass of wine, right? So at the time, I wanted to start a Portuguese wine bar. I wanted to open a bar. And I was just like, well, nobody knows where Portugal is. They don't realize that
Right.
Portuguese wine even exists. So if I open up a bar, nobody's going to come. Like, so I was like, I think the opportunity is to actually bring it in. And because these are my people, then I feel that I'm actually better able to represent that wine here in this, in California. Mind you, yes, California has incredible wine, and it is a little bit like bringing sand to the beach. But I think that there's just a lot there, and
I feel like it's like bringing like black sand to a white beach. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole different thing.
yes, if you're open to having black sand at a white beach, because a lot of people are
Right.
just like, no, like this
They're
our
like, what
Dutch
is
sand is
this?
the best. What is this thing? You don't want your sand on a pristine beaches,
I
and then try
mean,
to tell people that like, hey, this sand is actually pretty good, but you're not paying as much as you would for this pristine, like crystalline sand that you have here, right? But a lot of it was just like me really leaning into who I am as a person and essentially rediscovering my past and my family.
yeah, I mean, that kind of leads me into my first question. You've kind of basically answered it, but I was just wondering, what was the moment that made you realize that you wanted to leave the entertainment industry and pursue your passion for Portuguese wine?
So
Was there like a specific moment?
there wasn't a specific moment. It was a series of events throughout many years, but there were two pivotal points that that really forced me to take a look at where I was at and where I wanted to go. So when I was in high school in Jersey, we had a TV production class. And I never thought about TV production at all. I was just like, oh, this sounds like a fun class. I went in, and occasionally we would have these like talk show sort of scenarios, right? So on this particular day, some of my classmates were in front of the camera, and they had classmates working the camera, and I was in the control room. I was director that day. And one of
Oh,
my
nice.
classmates was asked, yeah, it was really awesome, and it was really fun experience. And in the conversation this day, a classmate was asked, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he said, I want to be a Hollywood film director, but I know that's not going to happen. So, and
Oh,
I stopped
wow.
listening because immediately I'm just like, what do you mean it's not going to happen for you?
Right. Like, wait a
Right.
minute.
Right. So at that moment, I was just like, well, you think you can't do it, but I know I can. And that
There
literally
you go.
led to wanting to work in Hollywood.
Wow.
Girl, it took me 15 years for me to realize that I was following somebody else's dream.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep right there. You know what I mean?
Because
That's deep.
I was
Mm.
going through, I worked everywhere in Hollywood. I worked in TV production, as you know. I worked for one of the major talent agencies in Hollywood. I worked for attorneys. I worked for executives. I worked all over the place. And I tried different ways of like, well, maybe this looks good. Maybe not so much.
Trying to
Maybe
make
that.
it work. Just trying to make it
And
work.
and I finally got to a place where I was just like, I'm really trying to be a square peg fitting into a round hole.
100%.
And the two pivotal moments that I think that helped me sort of like shift gears is that, so the first one is I was an assistant at ABC Studios, which is part of the Disney family, and I was an apprentice. I was in the apprenticeship program. And my mentor was the head of studio comedy for ABC. So this was during pilot season, and I knew how things worked, but I had access to all these new scripts. And one particular day, I was invited to a meeting where the head of, the studio essentially and her staff, or my mentor, her staff, were having conversations about these scripts that we were reading. And there's one in particular where they're like, "Oh my God, this is so funny," and da-da-da. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Really? You thought
Like,
that was funny?" And I was just like, okay, one of two things is happening. Either my instinct is completely crap and I don't know what the crap I'm talking about. And if that's the case,
doubtful.
then I'm not going to survive. Or they feel the same way, but they feel like they have to do lip service for their boss because they're
Yep.
saying what they think she wants to hear. And I'm
Trying to
like,
make it
either
work.
way, try to make it work. Like everybody's trying to hold on to their jobs. And we understand
Yep.
that. So I left that meeting. I went back to my desk and I was like, if I can't be who I am, then I'm not going to make it in this business. They
Yes.
shelved that script 3 months later. And I was like, it took you 3
Okay.
months and $400,000 later for you to realize that this is not your project.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was just like, maybe this just isn't for me. And then fast forward a couple of years, I found myself working for studio marketing where I am now. And again, I was trying to do different things. And I was working on these projects where essentially I was working for marketing and creating content for the Hispanic community. So taking our TV spots that we were using to market our campaigns and translating them or putting them into a way that where the Hispanic community could relate to them.
Oh, that's
And
right
part
up
of
your
working
alley.
on right for sure. And I was just like, oh, like these are my people. I grew up with, this community. I know what they're sensitive to.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this work basically consisted of me being woken up at 2:00 in the morning by the finishing agency saying, hey, can you confirm that this spot that we finished is ready for air? So essentially I was working like 14-hour days. I made a lot of
Jesus.
money, but I
Yes.
was just like, if I'm going to be working this hard, I'm
Yeah.
going to do it for me. And those
Love it.
instances, yeah, I was just like, I tried 15 years, not going to do it. I need to switch it up.
I'm just like, that is still such a success. And like, I mean, just questions that I have to even go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, I mean, just thinking about it, it's like you got to take that deep breath. I mean, I've worked production, and those 14-hour days, they feel like they're going to kill you. And unless you really love it, it's just like, what am I doing?
It's not even just a love thing. It's just like, does it align with your values? Is like,
Right.
what are you working for? Like, who are you working for? Are you working for you? Or are you working for somebody else? Essentially putting 14, 16 hours towards the development and the enrichment of somebody else. Or do you work for yourself,
yourself? Is there a goal? Is there a goal and a reason why I'm doing this for me?
Correct. And if I felt that I was working in an environment or even just an industry where I felt like I was really valued and people really cared and what I did mattered, then I would probably go down that route. But I've been in this business way too long to know that you are just a name and a number on a piece of paper at the end of the day.
I mean,
and it doesn't matter how well you do.
A lot of production companies, a lot of companies, period, are like that. I mean, I'm not going to just trash Hollywood. They're not all like that.
No.
I mean, I certainly still, dabble in Hollywood and, but yes, a name on the number and like checking off doing something for someone else. That is not the business, y'all,
And it's not just, it's not just a Hollywood thing. I think it's just across many different industries,
right? It's
just
a life thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you understand your place in that organization, then you're better able to know whether or not that's something that you can continue to contribute long term, and whether it's serving, if it's filling your cup, if it's serving what you want as a person, as an individual, what are you getting out of that relationship, right? So I felt that I wanted to fight more for me, regardless of how I felt about the people that I worked with. These were excellent people, incredible companies, but I was just like, I feel like I'm lost. And again, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, it just wasn't me.
And that's the best analogy. It's like, that was not the purpose. I wanted to ask you, I mean, wine importing is very different from Hollywood, obviously. What made you choose this specific path, and how does it align better with your values and purpose?
So I decided to import because, again, I wanted to, open up this bar. But in particular, it's just like, I felt like I knew a secret that others didn't know. And I wanted to help people discover something new. And the thing that drives me, like my why, is that I just love, like, every time I pour somebody a glass of one of our wines, they've never had Portuguese wine before. They're like, oh, well, this is actually really good. I was like, I know, so it's like a sense of discovery. And it's just like, it's almost like I got to a place where I got to, like, shout out a secret, and everybody's in on it now, and everybody's just so excited, and I'm so happy to be a part of that. But the way that it aligns with my values is that, the way that I'm talking to you is the way that I talk to my clients, is the way that I talk to my friends and my family. So I wanted to find something, the real me, where I'm not having to switch. I'm not having to switch personalities. I'm not having to sit in a room and think about, what does this person want to hear from me? Right. And I could be my true, authentic self, showcasing a product from a place that's very near and dear to me, because this is me. These are my people. This is my land.
That's you on a plate. Yes.
Me in a glass. That is literally me in a glass.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to just bring authenticity to what I did every day, and showcasing these products that are just so dear to me. And what people don't know is that Portuguese wine and American history are actually very much intertwined. Like, America happened in part because of Portuguese wine. So when we celebrate 4th of July, we think that the Declaration of Independence was all about Boston Tea Party. In reality, it was all imported products, one of them being Madeira wine, which is what the founders were drinking back in the day, because they couldn't grow wine grapes here to make wine, so they had to import it. So you had this importer that had a whole ship off the dock that he couldn't bring in, because the British are like, we're going to tax you, X percentage, which is what's going to happen in 2025, by the way, when we're talking about tariffs and tax. So it's all very much interrelated, but it's like Madeira wine, and the fact that this is a wine that our founding fathers were drinking every single day. And when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they celebrated with this wine from the Madeira Island, which is off the coast of Portugal.
Incredible.
So we have an incredible, like, history together, and I wanted to be a part of that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, there's so many different reasons. I mean, your culture, this is history, this is American history, this is Portuguese history. Now, and I can see why it's so you're so passionate about it,
Yeah.
This is a big question, and I think that everybody deals with this. I'm wondering, how do you deal with imposter syndrome, especially when entering an industry that you essentially had to start from scratch? And just so everybody knows, imposter syndrome is a behavioral health phenomenon described as self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. I plan on doing a whole podcast about it, because imposter syndrome is real. It's the damn devil. And I'm just wondering, how do you deal with this when you had to you're leaving an industry that you just knew like the back of your hand, and you're basically starting from scratch?
What's really funny is that, first, I think that women overwhelmingly suffer from imposter syndrome far more than men do, because oftentimes they say, I wish I had the confidence of a mediocre white man, because some people, they're just so confident. And I feel like for a lot of us, we almost have to fight to justify our place in the world, right?
Or fake it till you make it kind of
Or fake
thing.
it till you make it. So I feel
Hmm.
like for me, actually, imposter syndrome could have been the opposite, where if I had stayed in Hollywood, I would have had more instances of imposter syndrome because I felt like I
Yes.
had to be somebody else that I wasn't. And
Yeah.
feeling like, the number of times that I walked into conference rooms or boardrooms where I felt inadequate, right? But then I
Mm.
would hear other people talking. I'm like, how in the world did you get here?
Yes.
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 So fighting that, transitioning into this new industry, and 100% the wine industry is also very much male dominated. I mean, there's a lot of females that are making a lot of headway in the
Mm.
industry, and especially coming from a place where I didn't have a lot of experience.
Or
I
connections or
okay,
anything.
I knew nobody. The
Yeah.
only experience that I had in the industry was with my dad's liquor store in the Bronx when I was out.
You're like, I know liquor.
Yeah, I know retail. I know how to talk to these consumers, but it's like as the actual like product and stuff, I think it was just something that I needed a lot of help with. So I was just like, okay, what do I need to do for myself to prepare myself so that
Yes.
I can walk into a place confidently, besides having the I'm Portuguese and these are my people, right?
Mhm.
I also needed to
Trust
make
me, guys,
sure,
I'm Portuguese. Buy
just
from
trust me, like
me.
like
Yeah,
that means
that's not
nothing
gonna
to
work.
anybody. No,
Uh-uh.
unless you have credentials or unless you have something that, so for example, right now I am studying for my One Spirits Education Trust level 3. So essentially we call it the WISET. This is a body that originated in England, and it's one of the major organizations that deals with education in wine and spirits. And basically every professional has at least a level 3 or above.
Mm.
So, for example, a master of wine, they say that that test is far more difficult than passing the bar exam. Just to
Jesus.
give you, a context of what this means. So I was like, okay, I come from not this background. A lot of people that are my peers, a lot of other sales reps, a lot of other company owners, they've been in this for like 20, 30 years. So I need to make sure that I do what I have to do in terms of education, knowledge, prepare myself as much as I can to walk into a place and be like, okay, on paper I have the credentials, but then what? But then is
Right.
authentically leaning into who I am and what makes this company me, and really tying it all together. So I think, but from time to time, I still suffer from that imposter syndrome because it's like, well, if I want to be an expert, or I consider myself an expert in this particular field, but what makes me that, right? And especially when I'm in a room with somebody else that has been doing this for far longer than I am, and I feel like I'm being judged or I'm being
Yeah.
questioned, and it's just like,
Right.
just fighting through that, but knowing that I did the work and knowing that I'm coming from a place of authenticity and being like, look, what you see is what you get. Like, I'm not trying to BS anybody. And if this works for you, great. And if it doesn't, then maybe that's something that you need to work on, you know?
Yeah. And I think you're downplaying too all like so much of the work that you've put into this. It's not like you just like yesterday or the other day was just like, okay, I'm gonna sell wine. I'm gonna import wine. It's like you went to school for this. Like I remember you were in Napa,
I
right?
so
You've been
there's an
everywhere.
entire I've been everywhere. I've done all the things.
Mhm.
There's an entire MBA program in wine. People are just like, wait, there's a master's in business administration in wine. Yes. So when you go to, like, let's say a USC MBA program, or UCLA or Yale or Wharton, right? A lot of what you're talking about is like maybe discussing oil barrels or textiles or whatever other industry, but here you're just focusing on wine. So
Yeah.
it was an executive program for 17 months. Every other week, I would rush out of Disney, get on a plane, fly into Oakland, get a car, go into Sonoma, have 2 back-to-back days of complete class, fly back on Saturday evening. I was numb and a zombie until like
Yeah.
Tuesday,
Yeah. I
because I
remember
knew it was a lot. But
it was a whole lot.
basically, the reason that I did that is because it's like, okay, I've worked for the better part of 20 years in Hollywood. If
Yeah.
I really am looking to move to a completely unrelated industry, then I want to not completely ignore the work that I've had in corporate America, I want to be able to build a bridge that connects me, my experience to what I want to do next. And an MBA is that bridge. And I felt I really needed to do that. Again, just so that I could walk into a room and be like, I belong here.
I know what I'm talking about. I have my MBA, and like, what, you're a level 3 now? You said there's 4 levels, and you're a level 3?
I'm studying for level 3. There's diploma, and then there's masters. And considering how level 3 is going, I think I'm going to leave the other levels for like the geeks and people who have a lot more time and a lot more money than I do, because it's a lot.
I'm just like, I'm still in awe. Like, Andre and I will look at you and you're like, you smell the oakiness, and we're like, no. No,
you
grapes.
Get nutmeg. And it's just like, people are just like, oh, I get cassis. I was just like, what the crap is cassis? I have no idea.
But the fact that you're like, I'm an imposter, I don't know. Girl, we're like, is this cranberry juice or grape juice? Like, you?
I can't tell you a difference there. But ask me if I detect tomato leaf. No, the tomato smells like I literally am about to go to my mother-in-law's garden and take some tomato leaves to crush them up and like smell them, and that's what I'm gonna have to do. So
I'd be like, anyway. It smells like dirt. I'm so yeah. But that's the thing. It's like imposter syndrome when it creeps in on us. We just forget how badass we are. And I'm like, I'm happy to be your hype woman, because I'm just like, girl, like, I hate that feeling, and it's hard.
But you know what it is also? We live in a world where social media is king, right? It's like we compare ourselves to the people that are on the other side of that screen. And it's just like everything is curated, it's just like, so we're comparing ourselves to things that don't exist, right? And it's hard to find the value sometimes in ourselves. But again, there's a lot of people who have a much better time with this, and they're like, I'm the best there is. And there's also humility part of it too. I don't ever want to be someone who's just like, I am the absolute badass queen, and they're like, nobody knows anything more than I do. And that's just not who I am. Right. So.
No, that is not authentically you. And I don't think that's a fun way to live. So guys, I am not going to try to deceive you, just in case you're watching this on YouTube. Sandy and I took a break, and this is a different day. I'm wearing a different outfit, got a different lip color, but Sandy and I are just going to roll back in the interview, and you guys listening and not watching, you don't even know what I'm talking about. So let's kick it back. You ready, Miss Sandy?
I am. Let's do this.
Awesome. So I have a question that I really thought was important. Many people stay in a comfortable job just out of fear. What limiting beliefs do you have to overcome to make this drastic career shift that you did?
I'm going to tell you a very quick story. Back when I was during my ABC days, I was looking for my path, right? And I was trying different things, and the things that I was doing, they just weren't working. And I was just like, you know what? It's fine. The team that I'm working with, they're fun people. They're good. We get along. Yeah, I can be here however many years. And then life has a way of kicking you in the butt and be like, that's not what we had planned for you, right? Okay. So I think that some of the limiting beliefs that some people have is feeling like, they're afraid of what comes next. They're afraid of taking a risk. They're afraid of, going outside of the comfort zone because they're afraid of failure. But you have to rethink about what failure means. And when you take the word apart, it could mean first attempt in learning, right? So you do something, you think you failed, and now it's just like, oh, what am I going to do? You get up and you do it again, right? So ultimately, you have to figure out what kind of life you want to lead, who you want to be, and then create a plan to take steps to go towards that. Because yes, you can absolutely sit there and be comfortable. And there are a lot of people who are career assistants, career, whatever it is. And it's fine. And if that makes them happy, that's fine.
But that's what they want to do.
That's what they want to do. But in my personality, I get very antsy, and I just want more, and I want next, and I want bigger, and I want harder. So I'm going to put myself in positions where I actually feel that pain, because to me, it just feels like I'm moving forward.
I agree with you. And those who don't know, limiting beliefs are negative thoughts or assumptions that prevent people from reaching their full potential. And, that's a big thing. I think we all feel it at times, and you just really have to push past it, because, all of us should live the life we should be living,
Yeah, and I think a lot of times a lot of these beliefs come from our culture or upbringing and also the people that came before us, or parents or siblings, and like
Social
who do we
media.
have? Social media, right? It's just like you feel like, oh my God, like I'm less than, I'm never going
Yeah.
to do that. Or like,
Hmm.
for example, my brother and I are drastically different because it's like I'm very adventurous and just like, I'm gonna do X. And he's like, oh no, but you gotta think about this. And mom and dad are going to say no. And I was just like, I'm just
Mm.
gonna do it anyway. Right. But it really, it does take a big mind shift to say, what do I want? And then actually moving forward on whatever that plan is.
I mean,
Yeah.
speaking about mind shifts, I literally have this question down. I just want to talk about something I think many of the listeners will struggle with or have struggled with. As we know, a lot of people dream of making bold career moves and changes, but when you've built up the years of success in one field, it can be just terrifying to pivot in something totally different. How did you like walk through those moments of, am I crazy for walking away from this? I mean, you're making good money, girl. Or, have you had those thoughts like, am I throwing this all away? Am I a crazy person? What am I doing? Wine? What am I doing?
You know what? I think to me, the pain of not doing what I want to do is deeper than the pain of like, you know what? Actually, it's deeper than the comfort that I would have of just sitting back and not
Wow.
doing anything. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like I spent the better part of 15 years working in an industry that as hard as I tried to like make work, it just wasn't working.
Hmm.
So then it's like I sit there and I just had this anxiety of just like, is this it for me? Like, I'm not going to accomplish anything else. So knowing that, you take however long you've been working towards something, and then you figure out, okay, what's my skill set? Like, what can I take from here and use over here? And then how do I build that bridge so I don't give up this experience that I've had, but use, that time and the knowledge that I've gained into the thing that I want to do. So yeah, to me, it's not necessarily a waste of time. You just have to
Right.
reframe the way you look at things, right?
Yeah.
So the pain of of realizing that you didn't fulfill your potential, I think is deeper and bigger than any discomfort you're going to come across in the path towards discovery, in the path towards like actually working towards what you want.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that you want in life is worth doing, and it's going to be really hard and painful. But I think that the angst of sitting back and be like, well, could I have? And what if I did? And what if I failed? Like to me, that's even worse. Like inaction is worse than action and failure. Because at
Yes.
least through failure you learn something, right? And you
Right.
keep on building on that. But just sitting there and be like, that I can't. Like in
No,
my
I
mind, I can't do
I
that.
agree with you 100%. I mean, especially me being a creator and being like of a creative arts mind, I'm like, okay, well, this is a
Yeah.
poor man's job. But I'm like, if I don't do it, I'm so antsy. Me sitting at a table like a 9 to 5, or even like I remember back when in my waitressing days, I'm like, I can't do this. Like I have to entertain. Like I have to, this is not me. And I love what you said about failure, because when you fail, you are learning.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't look at failure as the end all be all or necessarily a negative thing. It is a pain
Hmm.
point, right? Because essentially what fail means is that you thought of something, you tried to do it, and maybe it didn't work out the way that you thought or you anticipated it would. But then it gives you an opportunity to be like, okay, this worked, but this didn't work. So maybe if I work on that one part that didn't, I can try again until you
Yep.
get to the point where you're just like, look, clearly I'm hitting a wall and this is just not my path. I need to pivot and do something else. Right.
Right. And that's what
Um,
failure showed you. It's like, okay,
yeah,
plan A did not work, but because I know X, Y, and Z, because of plan A, now I can move to plan B.
correct. And you never know where your opportunities are going to come from. Right.
Hmm.
And they say that on average, people change careers 3 times in their life. Right. And that's
Interesting.
where these like changes are, where it's just like, okay, I tried this thing. I either didn't like it or I wasn't happy or I was overworked. Okay, like something needs to change. So you change whatever you think that needs to be, and then you try it again. Like, okay, I'm happier, but this is not really exactly it. And life is an evolution. And I think that if you keep on wanting to learn and try new things and be okay with like, okay, that wasn't perfect,
Yeah.
but what did I gain from it? Then I think that you're always going to be excited about seeing what's next. And to
Yes.
me, that's fuel. To other people, be like, oh my God, I don't have the patience or the time or the energy, which is fine. And it really comes down to personality and what you want out of life, you know?
I agree. I mean, I'm urging people listening to this to like push forward and like try to live out those dreams, even though they're difficult, because that's what we're supposed to do on Earth.
Correct.
This is a kind of an interesting question here. How has this transition affected your definition of living your best life? I mean, and like, what have you learned about presence and just enjoying the moment?
You
Has it
know,
changed?
it forces me. It's funny because it's like this transition actually forced me to want to be more present, because I've always been the kind of person where it's like I dream and prepare for something. Let's say the holidays, right? It's just like the entire year. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm going to have this party, and da da da. And I anticipate the entire time for that thing. But then when I'm in that thing, I'm thinking about the next thing. I'm
Yeah,
not enjoying
guilty.
where I'm at. Right.
All the time.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
stuck at being present, you know?
yes. It's like our minds, like your mind kind of runs, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm doing this. It's the multitasker thing too. It's like,
And
okay,
I
I
think
can
that,
do this, but what's going to be next?
right, because it's just like, that's your dreamer, right? It's just like you're dreaming, you're ambitious, you're
Yeah.
thinking about the next thing because you're
Yeah.
excited about the future. And I think that to me, it's good to have that level of excitement. But at the same time, it's like my husband, for example, anytime that he's doing something like, oh, are you excited? And he's just like, I'm just in the moment. Like, I'm just here. I'm just going
That's
to go and
great.
do it.
Yeah.
And there isn't that like anticipation, that
But
anxiety
does that
about,
ever make you mad though? Don't you ever want to be like, can you just be excited? Like, are you thinking about
yes, it
it?
does. Yes, it does. But then it's just like, but when you're too busy being excited about what's coming next,
Yeah.
but you're not actually able to enjoy the thing that you've been working for and dreaming about, being the place that you literally are right now. So
You're right.
it's a work in progress,
Yeah.
and it's a struggle, because it's like it's almost like giving yourself permission to be happy in the moment and
Yes.
not feel like your happiness is going to happen tomorrow,
Right.
when the next thing is going to come.
If nobody takes anything from this episode, please take that, because that right there is like the basis of my podcast. Living in the moment, enjoying the time we have right now. Tomorrow's not promised. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
So
Not
if
at
we're
all.
thinking about tomorrow, we're not enjoying today. And it's difficult
Right.
because I think a lot of us do kind of take life for granted and we're not thinking about it because we're living, And
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, like this week I'm going to Vegas and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited about Vegas and this and that and this and that. But I'm like, but wait, today my family's in town and I get to sit and eat with my family. It's like, think about the little things that you kind of take for granted and just kind of revel in them,
Yeah, and then also I feel like, when you're too busy living in the tomorrow, you're not really building the memories today that you're going to
Yes.
recall later on
Right.
in the future,
Mhm.
because you're allowing the moment to pass by. And it's something that I catch myself often being like, okay, like I wanted to be in this very exact moment a year ago and I'm
Right.
here. So what am I
Yes.
doing not enjoying it? So
Right.
it's it's a little self-sabotaging, I feel, but we just have to make a greater effort to
Yeah.
be mindful and present in today and the thing that we're doing this very moment, like this.
That's
Looking forward to this podcast and just like really enjoy
exactly.
it while we're here.
I'm like,
Yeah.
people don't know, like Sandy has 100,000 million different jobs within her couple of jobs that she has. So Sandy and I we're not able to speak that often, or even we rarely get together. So like, this is a moment, I might not even see you till next year. I mean,
I know.
I hope not, but that's the truth, like we're both
It
busy.
is.
We
I
can never
mean,
get our schedules together.
and it's just like maybe you find like 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there, and it's just
Yeah.
like, and you're breezing through it because there's so much going on. So yes, it is a struggle. It's a job in and of itself to just be
Yes.
like, no, we gotta just like focus on where
Block
we
out
are.
that time, sit, enjoy it, because
Yeah.
it might not happen again. There's often pressure to have everything figured out before making a big change. How did you find peace with the uncertainty of entrepreneurship?
I really leaned into the phrase "done is better than perfect,"
Yes.
because the thing is that, and you hear it all the time, we're just like, if you wait to be ready to do the thing that you want to do, you're never going to do it.
right?
Yes.
And Martin Luther King Jr. had this quote, which is like, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase, right? Because it's like,
Mhm.
you have to get going. So doing something today, even if you don't have things figured out, you have to have faith in yourself that you're going to be able to figure it out as you go along, right? But if
Yes.
you just wait to prepare, then all you'll be doing is just preparing, and you're never going to take action on the things that you want to do, you know? Like, I'm a great planner, but it's
Me
the
too.
execution where
Right.
I suffer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
done is definitely better than perfect. I mean, it's hard for me. I struggle at times because I do feel like I'm somewhat of a perfectionist. And I don't know, the older I get, the more type A I am. I'm like, where's this person? Like, who'd she come from? Like, I used to be like,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
handing in assignments, like half done, like, this is fine. But like,
Yeah.
no, this podcast, I promise you, if I didn't get that push, like literally, I think I was listening to Kathy Heller and in one of her workshops, she's like, done is better than perfect. Like, push it out and do it. Because I was like, well, I don't quite know what I'm doing. And like, what is StreamYard and how do I'm like, just do it. Like, girl, record the trailer. Go. I hit that first episode. I'm like, I did it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? So during my still Disney time, I've met quite a few people, and one of them, she's always in my head because I always worried about it's just like, oh, I'm walking into this room full of like these incredibly brilliant people.
No
I don't fit
pressure.
in, like no pressure. And I'm just like, oh my God, like they're experts and doing so well. And she's like, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. In life, nobody knows what the hell we are all winging it. And some
I
of us
love
are
it.
better at the perception than
Yes.
we want it. And I think that social media is a really good indicator of that, because you see everybody's like, oh, everybody's like doing great and wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing?
I've written 5 books. Like, have you?
Have you? Or was that, ChatGPT? But
Right.
yeah, it's just like, whether you're writing a book, there's people whose advice is just like, just write 100 words a day. That's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Just take the little like baby steps. When you move like little pebbles, eventually you're going to be moving the whole mountain, right? You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do everything all at once. So I really try to lean into that, and it's just a learning journey every day, regardless of how long I've been doing something. But
Mm-hmm.
understanding that you're going to be learning along the way and being okay with that. You're not
Right.
perfect. Nobody is.
Right.
You know.
Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. What's the biggest mindset shift that you've had to make in transitioning from employee to entrepreneur? And how do you define success differently now?
Ooh.
I mean, it's like when you're working, you're making that cha-ching, ching, ching. But as an entrepreneur, you are spending out that cha-ching, ching, ching.
Yeah, and look, why I think that once you start to do your own thing, you understand your previous employers and why they did the things that
Oh,
they did, right? And it's just like,
interesting.
because you're able to look at business from through a different lens, right? I
You're
think
like,
that
that's
when
why
you're in
they
the
didn't pay me that much.
right, and it's just like, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, I understand why this happens.
Mm,
However, yada yada yada, right?
hmm.
So I'm still playing the role of employee and still fully playing the role of entrepreneur, and it's just like understanding how a big company does what they do when it comes to like the economics, when it comes to the processes, right? And then how do I take and apply it to my own business? So a lot of the things that I had to do, just give myself grace again in that learning transition of how to be an employee that's fully dependent and assuming that like, hey, I got a job. I can
Yeah.
clock out on Friday, and whatever happens to the company has nothing to do with me because I'm just a cog in the wheel. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Because just like I have no responsibility. I don't have to pay the accountants. I don't have to pay like nope.
It kind of
I
makes you
show up.
appreciate that job a little more because it's like, oh, thank you
It
for this because
really
I'm
does.
going home.
Right. But when you're doing your own thing, you own everything. You own the challenges, you own the successes, you own the struggles. You literally and you know that, oh, you can't just clock out. It's like you're
Right.
consistently thinking about this, you're consistently working on something. Look, it infiltrates my dreams. I wake
Oof,
up in the middle of the night, just like, oh my God, I didn't do all these things, right?
girl.
Am I thinking about that when I'm working for somebody else? Not necessarily, because again, it's just like I did my job, I clocked in, da 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 da, clocked out, I'm good.
Yeah.
When you actually have your own thing, it's like you're wearing all the hats, you're doing all the things, and it
Yep.
never stops. And your success is yours to gain or to lose, right?
Right.
And definitely my idea of success has changed. It's just like, I think that people are just like, oh, if I'm making X amount of money a year, I'm successful. If I own a house, I'm successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's just like, I'm able to take my dog out on a walk during the day, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I
What
don't
a
have to like,
feeling. Yes.
it is. It's just like, I don't have to call and check in and ask for
Yeah.
permission,
It's
right?
glorious.
Yeah, it is. So having that flexibility, a little bit of freedom is the definition of success. But another one for me is knowing that I am working to own the space. Like I am working to become an expert at the thing that I've been wanting to do for such a long time.
Yeah.
And to me, that is success because like I am building something like brick by brick, and I can feel it and I can sense it. And I look at it, she's like, that is mine.
Right.
And if it fails, it's because of things that I did or didn't do. But if it succeeds, it's because of things I did and I took
Yep.
into consideration. So
Yes.
that's very freeing, and to me, that is a successful way of being. When you're like, nope, this is mine, and nobody can take it away from me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I think it also drives you and pushes you more. It's like, you have to do it no matter what. It's like, if it
right.
fails, it is me. So how am I going to make this work?
Right. It's just like you can't expect the car to move forward unless you're stepping on the gas and
Okay.
being conscious of stepping on that gas, even when it's really difficult, even when it's really painful. It's like, I just have to keep going. And that is all ownership.
Heck,
So,
heck yeah.
yeah.
That's such a good
Hmm.
outlook. I mean, my last question is, and this is for everybody, man. What advice would you give to someone who feels called to make a major life change, but just feels paralyzed by the fear of the unknown?
The thing that you're afraid of is not as big and mean and scary as you think it is. I think
Wow.
our imaginations get away from us. And I saw this graph recently where it's just like, what you think is a problem and then what it really is a problem. Really, really tiny. So
Okay. Yeah.
our minds tend to increase our,
Catastrophize.
yeah, for sure. It's just like doom and gloom, right?
Yep. All the way. All
It's
the way. All the way.
all things in another way. And it's just realizing that, what, just that is better than perfect. You take that first step. You might stumble, but just know that you can get up and do it again. And redefine what fear means to you, right? And you can always use common and be like, but did you die? You didn't die. So you won. You won today. You woke up and you get to do it another day. And don't let fear be the driver, because that it has not worked for anybody. So trying to take that away, I think is really important.
Like, stomp those limiting beliefs and just keep it moving. You got to believe in yourself.
I mean, look, surround yourself with people that also are supportive of you, like your friends, your family, who are just like, okay, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I have full faith that you're going to do it and you're going to figure it out. So surrounding yourself with people who love and appreciate and support you is really important. And
Yes.
even if you don't have those people, just know that you are supporting yourself and you're encouraging yourself, and it's just take ownership of it. Like, don't leave your life and your success up to somebody else. You just
Yes.
really like take ownership and live that life that you want to live.
I mean, I don't understand how that couldn't become fruitful, and just the lesson in knowing that. And
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
in you, Sandy. I love you.
Thank you.
I
I
can't wait.
believe in you too, Beverly.
Our businesses are just going to take off, and we are going to be doing Beverly Explains It All. And I don't know, Sandy's sprawling house in Portugal, and I can't wait.
That is one of my goals, to have like a quinta somewhere and have like, olive trees and olive oil. Anyway, so that is what I'm working for. Like, that's my North Star,
I
just like
love
if
it.
that's my big goal, then working towards that in every day, whether it's a struggle or not, is just getting there. So we'll
Honey,
get
I'm
there.
claiming it for you. I'm claiming it for me. I am ready for it.
Amen to that.
Dude, you're such a fabulous guest. I'm so happy that I got to hang out with my friend Sandy. Sandy, can you please tell people where they can meet you, or not meet you, but actually see you, know what you're all about, your website and everything?
Yes. So my website is Denise Sellers. It's DINIZCELLARS.com. That's where our wines live. And, listen, my contact information is on there. If you have any questions, just hit me up. And you also want to include a promotional discount for your listeners if they're ever looking for any wine, whether it's for the holidays or after, or just because it's your random Wednesday, right? We're giving your listeners 10% off with the code podcast,
You
and it's included
guys,
for you. And
Sandy.
and if you don't know what Portuguese wines are and you're curious and you're interested, just drop me a note and we'll have all the conversations and I'll share it with you and be happy to teach. And I just want to help people discover something new, whether it's themselves in their lives, but definitely some good wine.
I mean, I will tell you, like, Sandy knows pretty much everything to know about Portuguese wine. I've learned so much. I think it's so interesting. And it's just, you guys, you're getting a 10% off hookup for the holidays. I mean, I urge you just to check it out. And I'm thanking you, Sandy, so much for that. I just have one last thing. I do this on my show. I always ask my guests, what's your mantra, your quote, or words that you just live by?
Oh my God. I feel like I've had so many, but it's just like the one thing that I would say to people is just have faith in you, believe in you in the way that nobody else does, because nobody else will,
Yes.
and there's power in yourself. There's power in your own intentions. And we are a living organism. We're here to evolve. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. And that comes with execution and with intent, right? So believe in yourself and believe that you can achieve the things that you want to do because you are going to put in the work to get the things that you want.
It doesn't just fall in your lap, y'all.
Never will, never has. So put in the work. And my husband says to stay out of the results. If you do the work, the results will come. So,
ooh, that's a good one. Stay out of your results. That's like, what is Kenny? Is it Kenny Rogers? He's like, I don't know. Don't count your money before you make it when you're playing poker or something. Okay, I'm sorry I butchered that, but it's something like that. Okay,
it's similar.
Oh my God, I love it, Sandy. Thank you so much for just taking the time and being present with me. I appreciate it more than you know. We got to get together before next year, girl.
We'll find 5 minutes. Then maybe we can do like a walk and talk somewhere. But we'll for sure.
I would love that. So, all right, guys, this has been Beverly Explains It All. I will have all of Sandy's information in the notes, so you will check it out there. And once again, Beverly Explains It All. Okay, bye.